Ahoy there, mate! This is your captain speaking, and today we're starting with my third funguary. In the first week's prompts, there were two mushrooms that I happened to draw for last year's funguary, the inky cap and the veiled lady. Both of them I remember very clearly. The veiled lady turned into one of my official OCs, Titan, while the inky cap artwork left me with much to be desired. I almost decided to redeem myself with this one, but decided to stick to new mushrooms only. The mushroom I chose is called the spotted court. It is often found in swampy areas. Because of this, my idea was to draw a swamp witch for the first beat. The witch part is really just because the mushroom heads are sort of like hats on top of their stems. That, and I thought a swamp witch would be a fun thing to draw. Even though my initial plan was to draw the swamp witch, I quickly deviated from that plan during the sketch. I ended up putting the character in overalls, at least to make her look a little more outdoorsy. I love how the overalls turned out. They're very cute in my opinion. The main idea of this piece ended up being her doing some sort of ritual or reading. I tried making it look like she's using the spotted court as a table as well. Her hat is also clearly meant to match the mushroom, while bringing a little bit of more witchy flair into it. I did end up using this as an excuse to practice foreshortening and that specific head angle. I'm never quite sure how to render this head angle. I feel like I'm always okay at drawing it, but not so much when it comes to coloring and rendering. It always ends up not reading that well. I don't usually do this when picking colors, but I got them straight from an image of the mushroom. I just chose some spots to use the eyedropper tool on and had my color palette just like that. I changed some colors slightly afterwards, but it wasn't a lot. I created a lot more gradients in this video's artworks than usual. I want to try giving things a little more color variation and have them look a little more like forms instead of just flat shapes. I also keep wanting to make my artworks a lot more glowy lately, and I think you'll be able to see that. I definitely stuck with it for this piece and the next one. Because I want the piece to be pretty glowy, I got to add in a lot of highlights, which is always pretty satisfying. For the table mushroom, I just added some green and yellow spots. The spotted court is known to develop yellow spots on the cap, but I decided to add some green just for some extra flair. Now, as you might realize, I did not sketch a very detailed idea of what I want the background to look like. I just added a few card shapes and some wisps going across the canvas. This would prove to be very bad because I wasted so much time on this part. I went over all the cards a bunch of times, trying to figure out what design I wanted to put on them, and of course refused to look up a reference of card backings for some reason because I was already doing the line art. Just when I thought I was done struggling, I had to figure out the magical wispiness. I decided to just make a large flowing shape in the background, but in hindsight, I probably should have tried to make it look a little more cloud-like. Oh well. But here she is. I'm really happy with this piece. I don't think I have the head angle down perfectly yet, but I definitely did better this time. Just popping in to remind you to like the video, which I assume you do if you made it this far, and subscribe if you would like to join our little pirate crew. It would be great if you could help us get to our next goal of 100 subs. There were some ethereal looking mushrooms for this week's prompts, but there was a specific one that caught my eye, the parrot wax cap. It's very bright and shiny and almost looks like a gummy candy. Since the first piece was so ambitious, I decided to tone it down a little for this one. I sketched out the character just being in a simple bus-top pose. To bring some of the mushroom imagery into this one, I gave her a very mushroom-like bob with some long side pieces. I realized that I hadn't really thought about the way the hair would connect to the side of the head, so the side pieces helped with that a lot. I only added them in afterwards. It filled up some empty space and made the hair make a little more sense. I was a little sad to cover up so much of her little elf ears, but I went on in favor of making things make more sense. I gave the character a nervous expression. I planned to do that since I started the line art. I thought it would be cute and mimic the way anime characters' hair is sometimes animated to react with surprise and fear by lifting up like that. For the colors, I color picked some from a reference of the fungi itself. This time I only took 3 of the colors I would consider to be the main ones. A nice turquoise, a green, and finally a yellow. I of course wanted to use the brightest color for the hair, so I just picked what looked best after that for both the skin and shirt, since I only had the 2 colors left to choose from. I did render everything a little different for this one too. I edited the basic airbrush I use for all of my rendering to taper a bit at the end. I figured it would make more sense to use that, especially when it comes to hair. I do think it made my process a little better, but I still need to practice with it some more. I don't know how I feel about the green I ended up with for a shirt. It almost looks like that one of the greens usually used in a camo pattern, and that's really not what I intended. I did keep it that way in the end though, but it does still bother me a tiny bit. I really love how her skin came out. It looks so soft and marshmallowy. The subtle gradients really make a massive difference, and I'll definitely try to continue rendering like this. Before I show you mateys how this piece turned out, I just want to take a few seconds to say that my commissions are now open. So if you like what you see and would like an artwork for yourself, please consider taking a look at my Ko-fi. I'll put the link down in the description. Here she is. This piece is a lot simpler, but she's definitely my favorite of the 2. She just feels so glowy and squishy. But that's all for today, crew. I hope to see you again for our next voyage. Bye bye!